Why did I get into mindfulness? Once upon a time, I was 20 years old, and I had been playing a game called League of Legends. I had been playing that game since I was maybe 17, 18, 4 or 5 years at that point. Um, I wasn't very good. For anyone familiar with the game, actually, no, not even for those familiar with the game. I was just, bottom of the ladder, lowest rank you could be. In terms of ranked. And, I played a little bit of ranked, only enough to get the lowest rank and not be able to rank up past that. I'd like go up one rank and then back down. Wasn't very good at the game, but hopelessly addicted. Everybody in my life telling me, you've got to quit playing these video games. They're so bad for you. Um, in terms of video games themselves, ever since I was a young kid, 7 years old, I've loved video games. I've been playing video games. And by the time I was in middle school, uh, school started doing the online grading. So you had Skyward Access, where your parents could look up not only what your current grade was in the class, but they could also see whether or not you were turning in your assignments, all of that. And once I reached that point in my life, I was very stubborn. I wanted to play my video games. Um, and if it wasn't video games, it might be something else, but I was not interested in doing all of my homework. Um, just couldn't get interested, and so I spent from 11 or 12, because I started middle school in 5th grade, American schools, 11 or 12, through moving out of the house at 18. I think about 17, 18, I had my own money, and at this point, there was no more grounding. But up until the point of like working myself and getting my own stuff, um, I was pretty much permanently grounded from video games and finding ways around them despite the fact that I was grounded. So, in order to play a game like League of Legends, I would stay up until I heard my parents go to sleep, and then I would go sneak one of my dad's old laptops, and I would log on there through some shisty means. I'd like figure out the password over time. Like he might give it to me just once because he needed me on it at some point, and then years later I still had the password and go back and use the old laptop to go play League of Legends. And I'd be up till 3, 4 in the morning, and then I'd go to sleep and have to wake up for school 2 hours later. Um, it was what I was motivated to do. I was losing sleep to do this. I was having to bend every rule in my house in order to do this. I wasn't supposed to be online. I wasn't supposed to be on computers. I wasn't supposed to be playing games on computers online, let alone on my parents' computers. And the point of this is, by the time I was 20, I had already been really aware of how I was with video games. This wasn't a secret to me. I could see how bad this addiction was. And the way I saw it, because I was me, I didn't have any false hope that I could just quit cold turkey and just not play video games and be fine. I've been me since I was 14, since I was 12, since I was a kid. I know who I am, and it was at heart a gamer. That I was not going to be able to give that up. And so I decided I wanted to try and use video games as fuel. I wanted to get better at the other things in my life as well as at gaming at the same time. Because that was maybe the wildest part was here's this thing that I can't help but doing, but there were some games like strategy games I could do well at, but anything that was high stress, high anxiety with lots of stimulus coming at you at once that you had to be able to navigate through, I just would shut down and not be able to perform. And so, in my quest to discover something that would help me do this, I came across a man named Weldon Green, and he was a sports psychologist and mindfulness coach for back then for TSM Gaming, a pro League of Legends team, and was the prominent NA North American pro League of Legends team at the time. This was about 8 years ago now. And he had a program called the Mindfulness, Acceptance, and Commitment Program. And it was an 8-week program designed to help you learn mindfulness, acceptance, and commitment through the lens of League of Legends in particular. And he said at some point, I don't know if it was in a video he had made or within the course, but he had said at some point that he usually gets one of two results out of people who have taken his course. They either A, reached the rank, the goal that they were looking to reach, or B, something that happened a lot, so two, as they developed this habit of mindfulness, as they began to live in service of their values instead of satisfying their emotions and all of these things that came along with the program, they realized or would come to realize that there were other things in their life that were more important to them, that were what they were actually interested in doing. And that didn't mean that they stopped playing video games altogether. It just meant that they suddenly went from needing to play video games all day, every day, as if they were trying to fill some void, to having fun playing video games on occasion, just as something they can do, and then having all sorts of other things that they thoroughly enjoyed doing that were just as, if not much more important to them. Um, Examples in my life that ended up coming of that were my dog and spending more time with my dog, Chewbacca the Wolfie, teaching him tricks, taking time to take him out to go fetch, taking time to brush him, and just all of that time I get to spend mindfully bonding with him was time I was missing out on when I was gaming. And so I make this video, A, to share my story with mindfulness, B, to hopefully inspire some others to consider looking into mindfulness and learning some mindfulness-based practices and maybe applying that to your gaming or whatever sports you may do, or even your job. And lastly, I hope someone struggling with video game addiction can hear this and, hear my story and think to yourself, that does sound familiar. I have been hopelessly addicted to video games since I was a kid, and I do know me, and I know there's nothing I can do about it. Um, and maybe there is nothing you can do about it. Maybe you start practicing mindfulness, and the best you get is you attain this ability to focus better. You attain this ability to focus on the task at hand, on the thing you want to focus on when you want to focus on it. Um, You learn how to slow down, you learn how to cope with anxiety, and then the next thing you know, maybe you'll find some other things that are important to you. Or maybe you'll become a pro League of Legends player.